You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be now delving into the upcoming T20 series between India and England. A little reminder for those of you joining us on YouTube to like and subscribe somewhere around where Jack is pointing. And apologies to those listening on the podcast for that meaningless segment.
I think you could do the shipping forecast, Max. That was absolutely brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant.
Dogger. Anyway, to the T20 cricket, the slap and giggle, or whatever some people like to call it. I think this is going to be brilliant, personally. But we've got it's a five game series coming up, starting on the 12th of March. England and India haven't played T20s for a little while. The last game was in July in 2018, and in the last 5 games, India have won 4. So recent form favours them. And on the back of 3 fairly convincing wins, we should say, in the tests, what do England need to do to turn things around in the T20s, Ross?
So I think first and foremost, the reason that England lost all the test matches is clear to me. It's because Sam makes things happen. Curran wasn't playing. It's the clear thing. We didn't have anyone to spark anything. So that is the clear bit for me. I think in terms of England's white ball side, it's a completely different mentality. I think a lot of tours before, you'd go to India, Australia, go to India, you'd get beaten in the test matches, and then the same players were playing in the ODIs. And so there wasn't ever that break. And it was always we've just been absolutely humiliated. The confidence is low, etc. I'm not sure that Owen Morgan's kind of white ball army will actually will allow that to happen. And a couple of those players have just come off the back of playing in the BBL, etc., and looking forward to proving themselves in the IPL. So I think I agree with you, Max. It's going to be one hell of a kind of competition.
Jack, do you have anything to add on that point?
No.
well surmised then, Ross. Congratulations. Yeah, no, I think you're right, and it's sort of a good example of how England have changed their white ball strategy over the last few years, and they've certainly looked to try and separate that red ball team from the white ball team. So arguably enough of them will be fresh to the cause, and maybe this is where England's rotation policy does help, in that some of the players will have been coming back from being at home rather than stuck in a hotel watching.
Even for us, right? Even for people who cover cricket or like to think they could try at least attempt to cover cricket, we're excited for this. Normally, after a long tour of just T20 cricket or Test matches, we're just like, oh my god, we've got to sit through more of it. This, I could not be more excited.
Well, what I will say, kind of generally on the point, is that I think England go into this series as the best white ball team in the world by a distance. And I mean that in terms of the playing personnel they have, but also their strategy, which are 2 things we just spent sort of 40 minutes hammering them for in the
Different
red ball
sport,
arena.
isn't it? Test cricket.
Yeah. Well, so it is exactly that is exactly the point. How they turn it around is that they play the next 5 T20s and the ODIs after that like they are the best white ball team in the world, and they don't worry too much about what India can and can't do, and they just sort of back themselves. And I think if they do that, they'll probably get a positive result.
Yep, that's fair. One thing that is similar between the T20s and the Test is that we are still in India, and we are, for the most part, still at Ahmedabad, and we can probably expect some turn that the English players might not normally face in T20s. Obviously, a number of the England squad play in the IPL, so they will be a bit more attuned to those surroundings than maybe some of the Test players. But do you think the spinning conditions will still pose problems for the England team in the T20 world?
No, not to the same extent. So, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to India on this, to allowing England the opportunity to play 5 T20s against India in a World Cup. Yeah, India. It's that really is a big favour, and I think when England win the trophy in later in the year, we'll look back on this as as the start of, or as the kind of the refinement of the team that was going to do that. I think the interesting, there'll be two interesting questions here. Like, what is the advantage to India making a bunch of spinning tracks for this series? I mean, it probably does make them more likely to win, but my understanding is that the ICC will oversee the pitch rollout or whatever it is when it gets to the actual tournament. So even if India can sort of lean on them a little bit, it's unlikely we'll see anything ridiculous come September or October or whenever it is. So there's nothing to really be gained there other than winning maybe in the short term, and even then maybe not. What I think might actually be interesting is England's spinner situation. So we've talked about this a little bit before, but although it'd be a while ago, England really have kind of like one spinner in Adil Rashid in T20 cricket, and that is not what is conventionally accepted as the best strategy to pursue. Most good T20 teams have like a battery of spinners, at least two, sometimes three. So I think what we will learn from this series is whether England need to review that, and I think that's the main thing. If I were an England analyst or the coach, that I'd want to learn from this is that can we actually win a World Cup in India with just Adil Rashid?
No, I think it's a really good point, Jack, and I think it'd be quite interesting to see how England use these next 5 fixtures as well on that front. So I think in the build-up to the 50 over World Cup, Owen Morgan didn't really chop and change that much. If you look at kind of the lineups that were in play, here they actually have an opportunity to do that. And I'm not sure they need to give kind of Ben Stokes all 5 games, Jofra Archer all 5 games in these conditions. Like, the result of winning this isn't actually that important in the grand scheme of things. It is actually the experience and being able to do so, and the talent should kind of see us through. It is good to see the likes of someone like Danny Briggs involved in that. I mean, he's the leading wicket taker in the T20 Blast, and I think he's one of the reserves in this. Max, in terms of some of the other bits on this tour, do you think that England are going to, in terms of selection, do you think we'll mix it up? Will we see the likes of Liam Livingstone actually get to play a few games, or?
I would like to think so, because I think your point is right about the sort of chopping and changing, because this is the context of this T20 series is that there is a T20 World Cup in India in October this year, and England will be looking to work out how to win that. And obviously, playing the hosts in their backyard is probably a pretty good way of trying to work out how to do that. So, like you say, we all know that Jofra Archer is going to be in that team. He dominates in the IPL, and he will be in the team, assuming he doesn't get injured. So that's one thing. And also, India are going to be without Bumrah, so maybe you don't even need to play Archer to match Jasprit Bumrah. Maybe you want to even things up a bit. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But what the key thing that we need to do is, it's work out how we're going to set that team up. And I am a little disappointed, like you mentioned, Danny Briggs, actually, some of the players that aren't in the full squad and are just on the reserve list.
Yeah, so I think Danny Briggs is actually on standby, so I think I misspoke on that one.
Right. So not even on the reserve list. We've got I think Matt Parkinson is on the reserve list. But again, he's another man that you think he's got a really good record in domestic cricket. So why don't we get a chance to see him? And I suppose it's going to be Adil Rashid again playing, and will Moeen Ali or Liam Livingstone be trusted to back them up? I think England maybe have missed a trick a little bit on the selection of the squad for the T20s, because there are probably a few answers that we might want to find that we're not asking the questions of. If that makes sense. You're right there, Ross. You.
On the other hand, like Morgan likes his guys, and this is a team full of Morgan's guys. They won the Big Boy World Cup. They've been kind of on like an all-conquering tour of the world for about 2 years, this white ball team. So I don't I think from an England point of view, we're sort of scratching around the edges a little bit. I mean, like who is going to open the batting for them? I mean, you've got a decision there between like Bairstow and Roy. Both of them are pretty good, probably. In the end,
I would
like,
caution against opening with Roy in T20s in India, because I assume some opening with spin might happen.
well, maybe. So maybe you go with Bairstow. I mean, then you've got Milan, who's the best T20 batter in the world according to the ICC. That's not bad. Stokes fits in there somewhere, and he can bowl. That's one of the things you really want from a player in T20 cricket. Someone who can bat in the top six and bowl.
Butler's okay.
But Butler, well, he'll be the other opener, won't he? He is good, yeah. Morgan, also pretty good. Moeen Ali, he was good enough that CSK blew the bank on him. We've seen him play in the IPL and do well. We can go through the whole team, but I don't really think there are actually any substantial weaknesses there, other than maybe the second spinner question, and they might just answer that by playing Moeen Ali for all 5 games, who does offer a different point of attack. What I think is interesting, or more interesting, is what India will do, because if you look at their squad, and really the strategy or the thinking behind how India play T20 cricket, I don't think it's quite modern enough, and I think they get bailed out sometimes by individuals who have like great days out, be that Sharma or sort of recently in Australia, I think Hardik Pandya was smacking the ball all over the place, wasn't he? Or Jasprit Bumrah. They have players who can kind of bail them out, but I don't think they have such a clear vision about how they are going to win T20 matches or 50 over matches, even in the way that England does. So England, pretty much for sure that every single one of their batters is just going to go ballistic, and that's the game plan. Bowling wise, there are a few pieces that move around, and it's maybe not as clear, and they're maybe not as talented, but the ballistic nature of those batters and the depth of that batting lineup and the self-belief means that basically any score is attainable, or any score within reason is attainable. India have players in their team who will play innings that will mean that the team doesn't score as many runs as it could have done had they pursued the England idea, which is to just go ballistic. And I wonder whether they will learn something off England for a change.
Yeah, they've got the players. We've seen the IPL. We know that there are plenty of Indian players who can absolutely fit that mold of going ballistic. So we should applaud the Indian selectors for bringing Ishan Kishan into the squad this time. They neglected to do so in Australia, which was an error. But this time he's in there. So whether we'll get to see him or not is another question. I would dearly love to see him play because he's absolutely fantastic. And there's also Raul Tuatia, who is still dining out off his barrage of sixes in the IPL from last year. So perhaps signs, also with Pant coming back into form, that India might be able to break out of that mold that you spoke of, Jack. But I don't think I think you're right to say it doesn't seem like a defined strategy that's how they're going to play. It's again just a case of will enough of their players who can do it to paper over the cracks of, say, Kohli or KL Rahul just going at one a ball for 5 overs.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't even know whether someone like Ishan Kishan will definitely be in the team. If Ishan Kishan was English and had the IPL, so say his name's Ian King. Had Ian King done what Ishan Kishan had done in the IPL, he would be straight in that England side. Or they'd be giving him. There's no chance he wouldn't have been picked for a series. He'd have at least been in the frame.
Of course, what England would then be doing is going, well, actually, maybe this Ian King could bat number 3 for England in tests.
Yeah, well, that could happen. That actually could happen. But he'd be in the T20 side, and I don't think that clarity of thought around what is a really good T20 batter exists in the India setup at the moment. And I think you kind of named one of the guys who's sort of maybe holding that development up, and it is Virat Kohli, who doesn't hit enough boundaries. People are going to be cross about this, but we
Well,
might
it's
as well
just,
go
but
through
it's
it.
it's factual.
But yeah,
He had
look
the
at his
lowest boundary
IPL.
percentage in the IPL last year.
Yeah, look at the IPL. That is not how to bat in modern day T20 cricket. And if you pursue that strategy, and you pick lots of other players who also pursue that strategy, what you're doing is capping like what you can actually achieve as a team. Ishan Kishan doesn't think that way.
Yeah, they don't even have the best T20 captain leading the side. No, that's just a fact. No, let's just get that out there, isn't it? But Max, so I think I'm very, very excited to see. And on the bowling front, Max, they've also picked is it Chakravarti in the side? So I think he's a good addition, and I think Chahar was probably going to cause England a couple of problems. I think in terms of the player I'm most excited to see, it has to be Sky. Like it just has to be him. Like him for Mumbai Indians last year was great. Him and Ishan Kishan batting together is a deadly combination. And if you think of just that explosiveness in that lineup, if you had Rohit, Dhawan, Kishan, Sky, Pant, that is an unbelievably explosive top order. Kohli, about a 6, mate. It's about a 7.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do, but I suspect it will be like KL Rahul, Shikhar Dhawan, Kohli. Sharma will obviously be in there, and I don't know whether that is exactly India's best team. They are all really good players. They are all really good players, and that you can't get around that. And clearly, it's in Kohli's locker to score at like 140. But I just don't think that that team play with the reckless abandon that the England team do. Do we want to do? We've got a couple of Twitter questions, and do we want to do them or the predictions first, Max?
Let's start with the predictions, and then we'll mop up the Twitter questions. But yeah, maybe this series could be India's Brendan McCullum moment, as it was for England. Perhaps Owen Morgan can be the Brendan McCullum that India need to kick things on. So Ross, why don't you start us off then? How do you see this T20 series finishing up?
I reckon it'll be 3-2 to England, and there'll be a super over in there somewhere.
That is exactly what I thought.
Really?
Yeah, 100% nailed on what I thought would happen as well.
Right, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is to a certain extent, and I'm going to say 4-1. Yeah, particularly if you take Bumrah out of that team, that's a big downgrade. And the general strategy that India pursue, I already think is wrong, and I think England could score them a little bit. So I look forward to people quoting that back at me in a couple of weeks' time.
It's good enough for Michael Vaughan. It's good enough for Jacko. Right then. So what do we have to answer from Twitter, Jack?
So Anoop asks, will Rahul Tewatia make a debut? I don't know if either of you have got a view on that.
I think he'll play in the last game.
Okay, Ross?
I'm going to have to agree with Max on that one. I can't see him getting... I think he's pretty low down the old pecking order. And you look at that.
I don't see him playing, to be honest. And will Jadeja be missed more in the white ball leg than the test matches, Max?
Well, maybe, because Akshar Patel did all right, didn't he? I don't think you could be missed less in the tests. And that's not to denigrate Jadeja. That's just how it went.
And Gautam asks, this is from an England point of view, or about the England team rather. Roy and Best have ensured rapid starts for England, which has been the bedrock of England's recent white ball success. Do you think the duo can replicate that in Indian conditions, Ross?
I don't think Jason Roy should open for England. I generally don't think he's got the pedigree to actually do it. I think when he's in recent form, he hasn't looked that convincing. In my opinion, Bairstow and Butler is our best opening pair, and they can certainly do that. Yeah,
I think that's what I would say.
No, I think that's who will play as well. I think Roy's had a pretty bad recent run of games, and I think he will probably start as second fiddle to Bairstow.
Cool. Let us know in the comments what your predictions are, so that we can laugh at you if you're wrong as well. And otherwise, shall we take a quick break?
Sounds good.
Welcome back for the segment we know as Cricket News. This is basically where we go through all the stories that we wanted to talk about, but didn't want to devote sort of 30 minutes of the show to. So let's start with possibly the biggest, certainly the funniest, and well, definitely the most predictable. The Pakistani Super League has been called off, Ross.
Yeah, it has. There's been 7 people have contracted COVID, and unsurprisingly, the competition was letting thousands of fans in. There was parties in the hotel. You like to think that not following scientific advice has caused a bit of trouble, and unfortunately, what was filling all of our time between the test matches has been cruelly taken away from us.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see.
No
we
more
have
disappointing than for David Gower, whose foray back into commentary has been cut cruelly short.
Yeah, we had. I mean, sort of Ross, as you alluded to, we had heard stories of people like going to the bar in the secure bubble, and then there's just a wedding of people not in the bubble, also like in the bar area of the hotel. So you kind of could see it coming. Ross, I am right that it is completely cancelled now, or is there a possible go no go point coming up in the next few days?
I think there's a possible no-go, especially with Pakistani Super League. You never know what's going to happen, which is the best thing about Pakistani cricket. Like, we love it because of the unpredictability of it. We're not being detrimental to Pakistan at all here. It's just one of those things. I think it was great to have cricket back on, especially as how popular it was getting because of lockdown across the world. And it's just absolutely gutting that it's been postponed and more than likely cancelled.
Yeah. Well, you never know. There's not really much more to say about that. I mean, we finally saw a game where the team batting first won, and that was it. They cancelled the whole tournament.
They were just like, we don't want this to happen.
They obviously knew something must have been up at that point.
Yeah. In other T20 news, maybe if we were a bit more global, we'd have devoted more of the show to this than we are going to. Pollard, 6 sixes in and over. Max, talk about
that. 6 sixes in and over off the bowler who'd just taken a hat trick. Let's just put that context in there. He's joined the prodigious list of 2 people, is it? Herschel Gibbs and Yuvraj Singh, who've achieved that feat in international cricket. So a fine addition to the list, and you love to see it, don't you? 6 sixes, it's brilliant. But I just love the fact that he'd taken a hat to go from that to the hat trick to 6 sixes is quite an achievement. And you have to sort of wonder at the end of that game how are you feeling about your individual performance? Where do you stand on that?
Ross, how would you feel had you gone hat trick to 6 sixes?
I genuinely would have given the big I am, like that final celebration, taking a hat trick. I would have been Monty Panasaring around Imran Tahir around the stadium, and then to come back from you're going to be very sheepish, aren't you? You're like very sheepish, and just the nonchalance that Pollard did it with as well. It was like ruthless hitting, and like I've never seen anything quite like it, really.
I think the West Indies are shaping up quite well for this T20 World Cup. I mean, they might not be the best team in the tournament. They've gone for an aging Chris Gayle who doesn't seem to be able to do it at the moment. But
he just needs an IPL to.
That could work. But they do seem to have some quite exciting players, and they've taken care of Sri Lanka absolutely no problem. Should we move on?
Well, just one thing, Max, you might talk about kind of Chris Gayle there, but if they come up against England, just wheel him out for that. He'll take England apart. That is the classic Chris Gayle move.
The other T20 series happening in the world at the moment is Australia v New Zealand in New Zealand. After being 2-0 down, the Australians managed to bring it back to 2-2. What happened in the decider, Ross?
Martin Guptill decided to be good again. He hit some runs earlier in the series, but at a tiny ground. This time at Wellington, a bit of a larger stadium, and he was well and truly back to being the Martin Guptill we know and love. Finch back amongst the runs as well. Couple of okay innings, but he was on the chopping block, really. The Australian media was kind of taking the route of the British media and kind of calling for, is the leadership right within Australia, etc. So I think he's just about earned himself a place at leading his country to the World Cup, which is good to see. And also New Zealand were kind of experimenting as well throughout the series. They kind of were bringing in Jimmy Neesham, kind of trying to understand like medium pace bowling in there. They played like 3 spinners or 4 spinners in this final game with Mark Chapman, the Hong Kong international, representing them, bowled left arm orthodox. So it's good to see that teams are really trying kind of new things ahead of the World Cup.
Yep.
You know who does need to try some new things ahead of the IPL? Carl Jameson.
RCB.
Oh, was it over 200 runs he conceded in the end? I know it was lots.
It's genuinely, it was just Matt Wade figured out how to play him, and I don't like Matthew Wade at all. But literally, he would bowl back of a leg, and Matthew Wade would just jump up and hit him over the top. It was really quite impressive. Anyway, enough of New Zealand, Australia.
Also in New Zealand, then the England women won 3-0 in the T20 series over their New Zealand-ish counterparts. Max, did you catch any of this? It was on pretty late at night.
No, once again, I was not up in the wee hours watching that. Much like the England-India series, I was saving that for when I was normally awake.
Fair enough. That's pretty good for the England team, though. Only losing 1 game away. New Zealand aren't very good, are they, Ross?
Well, they've I think it's 1 win in about 17 games, but their 1 win was pretty emphatic over England. So well done them, and happy International Women's Day for yesterday, I suppose, when this will be released. India versus England has also been announced as a test match between the women's teams. So test match cricket actually is they don't really get many opportunities to play. So that is a huge thing to be announced.
Yeah, good to see India getting involved as well. I think that's been a while since they've had a fixture. And speaking of fixtures, the IPL fixtures are out. That starts, I think, on the 9th of April, Ross.
It does indeed. And we'll be doing a bit of a preview going through it because they've actually done something a little bit clever with the scheduling. So there's something around teams not playing home games, and they've tried to balance it out in terms of the different things. So if you saw at IPL 20, when was it Sharjah was the tiny ground?
Yeah.
Like some teams want to play more games and they've tried to balance it out with different teams moving around. So yeah.
Am I right in saying that there's 3 legs? So there's like I don't know, is it a South India leg in Chennai, and then another one up in like Mumbai, maybe Pune? I didn't look at it exactly, but it's something like that, isn't it, Ross?
Yeah, it is, and I think it proves again that the IPL, when it comes to organising things and kind of actually being, I don't know, just smart in their kind of cricketing decisions in terms of the IPL when the kind of franchises are involved is on point. So we look forward to some high quality cricket, and all of the naysayers that our listeners may be seeing on Twitter at the moment about, IPL is ruining Test cricket. Just get aboard, mate. The IPL is incredible.
Final thing, and it is the last bit of Test cricket of the week. Zimbabwe beat Afghanistan in another 2-day match, actually. That was good.
Sounds it.
That's the end of this week's episode of the Cricket Podcast. Ross, have we got any more messages for our listeners?
Yep, like and subscribe and leave some comments. Jack will respond, especially if you wish him happy birthday. So happy birthday, Jack. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Cricket Podcast.
Cool. Max, have you got any messages?
Happy birthday. Is that what you wanted?
No, I just thought you might have had some messages. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back after Friday's fixture in the T20 for a little recap of that. And I'm looking forward to it.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
I think it was a disgraceful performance, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again.
That is very good.